Welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we're diving into systemic functional linguistics, and honestly, we're going to completely shift how you think about everyday communication. We're not looking at language as some static, dusty set of grammar rules. No way, we're looking at it as a dynamic physics of exchange. Literally every single time you open your mouth, you're firing up this highly engineered syntactic machine. Here's our roadmap. We'll cover the physics of dialogue, the anatomy of the mood, dissecting the residue, modulating the clause, the power of polarity, and finally, universal linguistic mechanics. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The physics of dialogue. Think of dialogue at the macro level like a tennis match. You step onto the court, take on a specific speech role, and bam, you instantly force your listener into a complementary role. It's an exchange. What you're seeing here is a matrix that visualizes the 4 primary speech functions, governing pretty much all of our interactions. By crossing your role, whether you're giving or demanding, with the actual commodity being exchanged, like goods and services versus pure information, we derive these 4 fundamental quadrants of human speech: the offer, the command, the statement, and the question. To really ground this, let's look at Halliday's famous teapot example. If you're exchanging goods and services, like saying, "Give me that teapot," you're demanding a literal physical action from the listener, right? Language is just the tool you're using to get the object. But if you're exchanging information, like stating, "He's giving her the teapot," well, now language itself is the primary commodity being traded. You're basically asking the listener to act out a verbal role to either affirm or deny that piece of information. Moving on to Section 2, Anatomy of the Mood. So how exactly does our grammar build these exchanges? Well, let's zoom in on the interlocking kinetic blocks of a proposition. In systemic functional linguistics, this absolute core is called the mood element. It's made of 2 vital parts. First, the subject. That's the entity taking modal responsibility. And second, the finite, which is the verbal operator anchoring the whole thing in time or probability. This mood element, it is the true engine of the argument. It's the exact piece we toss back and forth when we debate a point. And you can see exactly how the subject takes the blame or the credit for the argument's validity, while the finite strictly anchors it in the here and now. For instance, if I say, "The Duke has given away the teapot," the Duke is the one on trial for the statement's validity, and has grounds that action right in present relevance. We actually see this in action everywhere. Just look at this classic dialogue from Alice in Wonderland. We can watch exactly how the mood elements carry the entire argument forward, while the rest of the sentence is just elliptically dropped. Must a name mean something? Of course it must. It and must, subject and finite. The entire debate shrinks right down to these 2 incredibly powerful syntactic blocks. Section 3, Dissecting the Residue. Okay, so if the mood is our core argument, the rest of the sentence is what we call the residue. Think of it as the experiential packaging intricately built right around the mood. The residue fleshes out the story through these interlocking functional organs. You've got the predicator carrying the action, the complement, which contains potential subjects, and the adjunct, which gives us circumstantial details, like time and place. Let's apply this to a variation of our teapot example. That teapot was given away by the Duke. By separating out the core mood, which is "that teapot was," from this residue, we can see exactly how the experiential details are neatly organized. Given away is our predicator, and by the Duke is our circumstantial adjunct, neatly parked in its very own syntactic compartment. Section 4. Modulating the clause. Now, let's see how we build entirely different speech functions simply by physically swapping our syntactic blocks. Honestly, this is where the mathematical elegance of language really shines. To shift from stating a fact to asking a question, the machine literally just inverts the subject and finite blocks. "The Duke has" becomes "has the Duke." It's a mechanical shift that instantly signals a demand for information. How cool is that? And when we demand specific information using WH elements, like who, what, or where, the structure elegantly adapts depending on what exactly we're looking for. If we ask, "Who gave you that?" the who conflates directly with the core subject. But if we ask, "Where did he go?" the where conflates with the circumstantial residue. The whole architecture dynamically shifts the focus of the demand seamlessly. Section 5, The Power of Polarity. So before any exchange can happen, a proposition absolutely must be arguable. Because of that, the finite element has to specify polarity. It definitively is or it isn't.
You just can't have an argument without a stance. And interestingly, when linguists analyze vast corpuses of human discourse, they find something wild. Positive polarity is actually 10 times more frequent than negative polarity. 10 times.
You see, choosing positive polarity isn't just the absence of a negative, it is a highly substantive and meaningful choice. And because polarity is so incredibly central to the mood, English physically fuses these affirmative and negative markers straight into the finite operator. We don't just say will not, we fuse it into won't. Can not becomes can't. The positive or negative charge is literally baked right into the engine of the clause.
This polarity creates a fascinating social dynamic when we use mood tags. When we say something like, "The Duke has given away that teapot, hasn't he?" we're adding a tag to seek corroboration. The machine automatically reverses the polarity from positive to negative, has to hasn't, which effectively demands the listener hit the volley back over the net. It's a built-in prompt for consensus.
And finally, Section 6, Universal Linguistic Mechanics.
By mastering this framework, we start to realize that grammar isn't just some arbitrary list of textbook rules. It's a highly engineered tool for interaction. Every single time you speak, you operate the clause machine. The dynamic combination of the modally responsible mood element and the experiential residue forms a universal physics engine for all human dialogue. You're constantly configuring these elements to exchange goods, demand information, and negotiate reality.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to consider this. How much of your daily social power is negotiated entirely through your subconscious manipulation of the mood and the residue? Every single negotiation, demand, and offer you make is quietly governed by this beautiful subconscious architecture. Pay attention to the syntactic blocks you volley back and forth today, and I promise you, you'll start to see the matrix of language everywhere.